Hello everybody, this is Carl Peterson, your instructor. Today we are going to explore all the specific information you need to know in order to understand and successfully complete the VoiceThread discussion assignment. This information includes how to create a VoiceThread account, how to access each weekly VoiceThread discussion, the specific rules which are used to grade the assignment, and finally suggestions for the assignment's successful completion. Let's begin with an overview of our presentation. The first section answers the question, what exactly is a VoiceThread discussion? The second section will focus upon accessing the VoiceThread discussion, including the creation of your own VoiceThread account and how to access each of our course's weekly VoiceThread discussions. The third section will show you how to complete the VoiceThread assignment, including how to create a VoiceThread comment and the variety of comments which will be accepted. The final section, Is There Anything Else I Need to Know?, explains the specific rules which are used to grade the assignment, along with suggestions for effectively completing the VoiceThread assignment. So what exactly is the VoiceThread discussion? Well, the VoiceThread discussion is designed to be a simulation of a real-time, synchronous, in-class discussion. In class discussions, multiple minds with people from different perspectives and backgrounds are constantly thinking about the same topic, which increases their understanding and knowledge of the various ways this topic applies to their lives and lives of other people, benefiting everyone participating in the discussion, with multiple minds collectively learning about the same topic. While this is occurring, all students observing the discussion are exposed to this continual exploration of the discussion's topic, allowing them to also benefit from the experience. In-class discussion also constantly causes students to continually go over the same information, indirectly teaching them through repetition important knowledge about the course itself. The VoiceThread discussion is designed to again simulate the same effect of an in-class discussion in a completely asynchronous, a fancy word for never meeting at the same place and time, online course. That is the purpose of the VoiceThread discussion. From already completing the mind map discussions, you know the mind maps are designed to simulate the same effect as the VoiceThread discussion. This is intentional because the same knowledge is going to be applied to the VoiceThread discussion as well, one final time, so students truly understand the topic of each weekly module. Which means that yes, in order to complete the VoiceThread assignment, you first of all are going to need knowledge of the reading and both mind map discussion threads. This is why the mind map discussions and reading are completed before the VoiceThread discussion within each weekly module, because the information explored in the mind map discussion and the readings will also be explored again within the VoiceThread discussion by effectively doing a different assignment. You will also need the ability to access the VoiceThread itself. To begin that process, you are going to need this URL to take you to the VoiceThread account creation page. https://voicethread.com/register/. Finally, you will need to access the weekly VoiceThread URL located within each of our weekly modules. So let's move on to the next section and begin creating your own VoiceThread account. The first step is typing the VoiceThread registration page URL into your web browser. Thus, you go up to the web browser's URL and type https://voicethread voicethread.com/register register/ and press Enter. You should now be at the VoiceThread registration page. Simply provide the proper information in each of these slots. As you can see, there is a slot for your first name, your last name, your email, another slot to re-enter your email, and thus confirm your email, what password you would like to use to access your VoiceThread account, and a space once again to re-enter and thus confirm your password. Finally, click on or highlight the RE CAPTCHA box so that you can confirm you are not a robot. Finally, click the Register button. Once you do this, you will now have your very own VoiceThread account. The next step is accessing the weekly VoiceThread discussion. To begin with, go to our online Canvas Introductory to Philosophy courses weekly module VoiceThread discussion section. For example, this is the Week 2 VoiceThread discussion section. As you can see, there is a link to the weekly VoiceThread discussion. Click it or select it. Two things might happen if you click our weekly VoiceThread discussion URL. If you have already signed into your VoiceThread account and your computer remembers or uses cookies, then selecting this weekly VoiceThread discussion link will immediately take you to that week's VoiceThread discussion, as you can see here. If you are not logged into your VoiceThread account or have never accessed your VoiceThread account on a specific computer, or the computer does not have cookies to remember, you will be redirected to the VoiceThread login page. If this happens, type in your email for which you registered your VoiceThread account, your account's password, and then you should have access to that week's VoiceThread discussion. As you can see, there is one movie on this VoiceThread discussion page. It contains the questions which students are supposed to answer to start this discussion. The entirety of the discussion will occur on this page, with each additional comment to the VoiceThread discussion automatically playing after the previous comment. Upon entering the screen, the video will automatically play, but you can pause or restart it. Thus, by simply accessing the VoiceThread, you could, without any extra actions, listen to all the previous VoiceThread comments in the order for which they are posted. The next question, of course, is how one creates a VoiceThread comment and which comments are acceptable, both of which you need to know in order to complete each VoiceThread discussion assignment. You will notice there is a small plus sign at the bottom of the VoiceThread discussion page. If you click this plus sign, it will expand into several new options, each of which are ways to leave a VoiceThread comment. Please note that whatever form your comment is in, it must have a verbal or text-based aspect in order to complete the assignment. You can use other media, but just remember it also must have the verbal or text-based aspect, or you won't receive credit for it. Therefore, successfully completing the assignment requires you use one of the following VoiceThread comment options. To begin with, you can directly type in your comment by selecting this option. This option allows you to use a phone to provide an audio comment. This option allows you to use an audio recorder attached to your computer to record an audio comment. If your video either has visual text describing your comment or an audio recording of your voice, you can use this option to upload a video comment. Finally, you can also upload a video, audio, or PDF with text on it by selecting this option. So let's begin with the final section of this presentation, namely, is there anything else I need to know? This section focuses on what you need to do to complete the VoiceThread assignment, including specific rules pertaining to the VoiceThread assignment and the steps necessary in order to complete the assignment via the simplest possible means. We will begin with the two rules which apply to the VoiceThread discussion. The first rule is that you are supposed to post one detailed comment in response to the comment at the end of the weekly VoiceThread discussion. This sounds strange, but remember that the VoiceThread works by adding new comments and playing them in the order they are posted, and the idea is to have the VoiceThread mimic a classroom discussion as much as possible. Thus, like a real class discussion, you will always provide your comment in reply to someone else, and you cannot go back to previously mentioned comments without still having your comment be relevant to the current conversation. You also only need to do one comment since our class has already gone over the same material in the mind map discussion. This particular comment should be supported with evidence or reasoning, as well as being clear and concise. Grammatical issues should be kept to a minimum, Evidence can include information from the mind map discussion or logic and reasoning. You must identify yourself and the name of the student which you are responding to. It should be the last person to post a comment in the VoiceThread discussion, at least when you log in to post your own reply. The first reason for this is that your classmates are unlikely to remember your name, so you providing your name allows them to contribute to the assignment. The second reason is that it is also possible for students to begin working on their VoiceThread response at the same time, resulting in more than one person responding to the same student comment at the end of the VoiceThread. Allowing up to 2 people to post a reply to the same comment gives some students the ability to not be punished due to inconvenient timing, while also making sure to keep the VoiceThread discussion as close to an actual class discussion as possible. However, in order for me to make sure you are one of these first 2 students, I am going to need to know the name of the student for which you are responding to. It is for these reasons why I need both yours and that student's name posted in your comment. It will always be assumed that you are referring to the most recent comment made by a student before you post your own comment. Students and the instructor are allowed to make multiple comments. However, to keep the VoiceThread flowing like a real in-class discussion, and to make it easier on all students posting their comments, I am just going to always assume that the student or instructor's comments to which you are posting a response to will be that student or instructor's most recent comment. It achieves both of these goals without too much thought. And I mean the most recent comment at the point you posted your own comment. In short, if the same person makes another comment after you have made your contribution to the VoiceThread, I won't be confused. Only the first 2 people will receive credit if they are responding to the same student or instructor comment. As I said earlier, it is possible for more than one person to, due to bad timing, unknowingly create multiple comments to the same comment posted at the end of the VoiceThread. Yet, if I were to allow anyone to post comments to any previous response, everyone could effectively make all the responses to a single student, and less perspectives would shape the same idea. Therefore, the first 2 people to create a VoiceThread comment in response to the same person's previous comment on the VoiceThread will receive credit, so that some students still don't have to do the assignment over again due to bad timing. However, this limit will also keep the VoiceThread discussion flowing as it was intended. Yet, if you are not the first or second person, you will either need to rewrite your comment or write a new comment to the most recent student's VoiceThread comment. So be aware of this. Finally, you should also know that your instructor's comments are treated as student comments. You can make responses to them, and like student comments, it will always be assumed you are referring to my most recent comment in the VoiceThread. Having taken care of the specifics of Rule 1, let's move on to Rule number 2. Students can post multiple comments, but students providing 2 or more junk comments will receive 0 credit on the assignment. I define a junk comment as a comment which has little to no substance or relevance to the VoiceThread discussion and theoretically can make it impossible to allow others to complete the VoiceThread discussion assignment. How is that possible? Well, let's say a person starts to post random comments, even just random noise to various student VoiceThread comments. If that person continually does this, and rule number 2 did not exist, then no other student could make a comment which could be worth credit, since the first and second comments to a particular student comment would be taken by the student posting those junk comments. I created rule number 2 to fix this issue. If you want to know the specifics about what can be defined as a junk comment, simply look at the description of the category where the student would earn little to no points on the VoiceThread rubric. A junk comment fits these parameters, since that category has no substance or relevance to the course, aside perhaps from the grammatical one, namely because it provides little to no grammar that could have errors. Although, if it did have significant amount of text, it would still be considered a junk comment if it did poorly in the rubric area of content and argumentation. If I find a junk comment, I will delete them, and if a person posts too many junk comments, I'll block them from the VoiceThread and give them no credit for the VoiceThread assignment. While those rules sound a little complicated, I am going to make it easier on you with the following list of guidelines which, if you follow, will allow you to quickly and efficiently complete the VoiceThread assignment in a way that follows the two previous rules. To begin with, what you should do is completely listen to the entire voice thread, particularly the last comment in the thread. Then, respond to that comment. Then, before you post your comment, you should go back to the voice thread and make sure you would either be the first or second person to post a reply to that same student or instructor comment. Now, if you are not the first or second person, you can either rewrite your comment so that it can still be a response to the most recent student or instructor comment, or you can write a new response to the most recent student or instructor comment in the voice thread. If you choose to rewrite your comment, I suggest you be clever about it. Remember that your comment was still relevant to the VoiceThread conversation rather recently, since the VoiceThread discussion hasn't had enough time to dramatically change context. So making a few changes to your comment and still have it be relevant to the most recent piece of the discussion should be pretty easy. We are now at the end of this video. By now, you now have everything you need to successfully complete every weekly VoiceThread discussion assignment. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me via email. Regardless, thank you for your time and take care.